Today I'm talking to one of our Cacao Training alumni, Malvina Wong from Singapore. So I'm just going to call her up here and then we can get started with our chat. If we can get on here. In the meantime, I'm just going to pour myself a little bit of my cacao that I made earlier, put in the thermos flask. There we go. Hello, sister. Maybe just try request to join. Hello, everybody logging in. There we go. Accept. Wonderful. Malvina on, pouring my cacao, multitasking. And let's see if it doesn't happen again. I'm going to request you to join one more time. Let's give this a bash. All right. Okay, Malvina requesting again. So straight. I know you can hear me on the other side, but I just have myself to look at right now. Hello, everybody joining live.
Perfect.
There we go. And we are live. Good.
Hello.
Good morning from South Africa.
Good afternoon from Singapore.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining. I know time is precious, so I'm going to ask us to get straight in just with hands on the heart. We can close the eyes and keep them open. Anybody joining in can do the same. Just to take 3 breaths. The breath to connect us into the physical space and location in which we are currently in the body, on this planet, in this geographical space. Another breath to connect in virtually into the global space online, here on Instagram. And a final breath to call in the spirit, be present with us. Just take one more, just to settle in and create a container over all of this, inviting in the heart. Lovely. When you're ready, we can get started.
Hi.
So I've already got my cacao here, and I'm very happy to sip on it while we chat. Malvina, I thought it might be a good idea just to give a bit of context. I know you said you're coming in from Singapore. Perhaps just a brief context of where you're from, maybe some family ancestry, and then what brought you to find us based in South Africa, but offering the global training online.
So I was born and raised in the Philippines, but my lineage is Chinese. And then I moved to Singapore about 8 years ago because my dad is Singaporean and I decided to relocate here. And then about the last year or so, that's when I started my full-on like spiritual journey. And I think a common friend of ours, Celeste, had introduced me to cacao, and I fell in love with it ever since, with her ever since, about like June, July last year. And I started integrating her into my daily rituals through my meditations. And I felt the call to work with her on a deeper level, to understand her better. And because of how much beautiful impact she's done with me, I wanted to be able to share that and serve, and yeah, be able to share that with other people, for other people to also experience her magic. And so I asked Celeste if she could recommend somebody who could be my mentor, who could, support me with this journey, and it was you. So, I looked you up and it felt, it aligned right away. I felt very aligned when I found you. So I reached out to you and here we are.
Well, cheers to Celeste for introducing us. Thank you, sister.
Yes.
We also have another sister in common in Singapore who's also done a training with me, Brenda, you know her. And also the beautiful story about that is that Brenda and Celeste, now they didn't know each other, and it was through Mama Cacao and the work with us that they also connected. And yeah, so it's just so beautiful how there's like the Singapore family for me personally that I feel very connected to. And the beautiful thing is that you're so close to Bali. So when I go on my annual pilgrimage to Bali, I have to go via Singapore. And I know you've been there many times. Celeste has. Brenda came with me last year as well. I think it was her second trip to Bali. And you've recently actually been to Bali. So can you share a little bit about that and your experience with cacao and Bali specifically?
So it's interesting because right before we started our training, yeah, I went to Bali and that's where I sourced all my cacao. And it's just so wonderful where I source it in Cacao, Ubudro.
Mm,
They're just such wonderful people. And I went there to visit Celeste actually. So we had our own little, ritual in the mornings with a cacao. And yeah, and I was like, which made me a little bit more excited to come back home to start my
mm,
training with
mm.
you. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you for sharing that because I love the beautiful way that she came into your life already. You know, we might be talking about Celestia, but the she you and I are referring to is actually Mama Cacao and
Yeah.
Celeste. But with Mama Cacao, she has this way of just entering into our lives and in such a beautiful, friendly, and fun way. And that sounds like your experience with her. And so, what I'm understanding is you already had this familiarity with the taste of cacao, with having making it with a friend, and just a really beautiful way of introducing yourself to her. And then you felt the calling, like so many people, to actually develop this deeper relationship with the spirit of cacao, with Mama Cacao, and really feeling called to pay homage by educating yourself a little bit more and having somebody hold that space in that container. So now enter Fran and enter Cape Cacao. So can you just share along the journey of your training? Because we had a private training. So we met online once a week. We had a little break over the Christmas and New Year time. And then you still went through all the self-study modules that's there. And we kind of took that pace to meet up every week and discuss everything that came from that. And then at the end, you held a ceremony, just like everybody that would join a group training would do. So now, from the beginning, when you started working with cacao and you didn't know anything about it, but it was nice and fun and in Bali and you had a friend there guiding you, and how you feel now about it. Can you just speak a little bit to the comparison to start, but also just a few little things that jump out along the journey for you?
Yeah. So when I first started working with Mama Cacao, initially she was just someone to, like a spirit being who was there to hold space for me while I would be doing my morning meditations. But when we started the level one training, it was very, very interesting because I learned to work with her in different ways. When we started exploring the yin and the yang way of, making cacao, and just the journaling that you had advised me to incorporate and to work with the different doses. I think that was early on during the training. Um, I was able to connect and discern how my relationship with Mama Cacao is in different ways. When I'm feeling called to be more creative, there's a certain way for me to work with Mama Cacao. When I'm feeling like I need to be, you know, in a very, very deep space, just connecting with myself, there's also another approach that I have working with Mama Cacao based on, the different, I don't really want to call it experiments, but basically different ways that I was able to explore working with her. It's like getting to know a friend in,
Yeah,
different scenarios, different
absolutely.
levels. So that was really, really enjoyable and exciting for me um, from a
Mm,
personal
mm.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, cool. And that was just the level one, and there's really so much there. I mean, that's quite a content heavy level. Level two is then diving into doing that inner
Yeah.
work, the shadow integration, the dreams, the voice activation, the archetypes. But already, what you're mentioning here is understanding, working with her in different ways in level one already, and exploring. I like that. It is experimenting, exploring just being guided a little bit more. Like here's yin ideas, here's yang ideas for not only the way you prepare the cacao practically, but how then you sit with her in some ways to integrate that
Mm,
and activate the medicine and then inquire into, okay, now that I've done a few of those things, how does it actually feel to me today authentically to be approaching her? And and I love that, as you're sharing, getting to know a friend, what came to me was exactly like if I'm getting to know somebody, we're going to be doing a few things over the course of, let's say, a year or two. We might go to the beach one time. Another
mhm.
time, we might just sit and have tea at home. We might go out and have like a meal. We might watch a movie together. We might go on a hike. I'm just thinking of a bunch of random activities. And
Yeah.
these are going to bring out different personalities in myself. There's a different energy in that time, but also in the person that I'm relating to. And that's always how I love to explain it to people. So you tapped into that right in the beginning, is that pretend in the beginning, if you don't feel a connection yet, pretend that you actually have a physical presence there, like a body.
Yeah.
So close your eyes and just visualize, this Mama Cacao being a human sitting with you. And that's actually exactly like developing a relationship with a human being. It takes time. We go deeper, we start to find those subtler nuances, and everyone has their quirks, right? And the spirit also has its quirk in relationship to us. Many people, they'll tap into inner child work and a playful aspect in a mysterious or mischievous way that Mama Cacao sometimes comes in and just helps us not take life so seriously. Did you have any of those experiences, and you want
Yes,
to
absolutely.
elaborate on any?
Yeah, just yeah, speak a little bit more to level one when I was doing all the explorations and to speak more about her being a friend, it's really
Mm,
being able to her presence of love is consistent, right? So that's how I felt. Like there's a consistency that I know I'm always going to be held in a certain way, which made me feel safe
mm,
in whichever way that I'm able to explore my relationship with her.
mm, mm,
So yeah, there
mm,
would be
mm,
moments when literally I'm sitting with Mama Cacao, then I get all these exciting ideas to like doodle or
mm,
scribble and just do all the stuff or do some writing. But there are moments where okay, I just want to sit and I get like inspiration for my work, like an idea for a
mm,
meditation that I want to guide. So she really is like she's so giving in that way. And yeah,
mm,
it's just a
mm,
very, very safe presence to be able to
mm,
allow me to go crazy and free. Yeah. Yeah.
Free. Yeah, so I love that. Yeah, so yeah, that's important to highlight because what I just said wasn't in the context of how you beautifully contextualize it. So there are all these ways that we're going to explore the subtle nuances, the different personalities, but the undercurrent is always
Yeah.
love, always, and safety. And it's a remembering to come back to that heart space of safety and love that we
Yeah.
have inside.
Yes.
So yeah. As I said, it really it was such a I'd say privilege and an honor and such a joy to actually watch you to facilitate and to walk alongside you and hold your hand along this journey. And I know there were some challenging times, and I'm not going to ask you to go into the details of those. I'm just going to mention to kind of prompt my next question. That level two, we do there's an opportunity to go as deep as one likes into the worlds of the unseen, the shadow space. And this is, when we understand energy, this is the
Mm.
yin, this is the divine feminine, and this is actually where all our greatest gifts lie. And so there were some things that came up as well, the shadow integration part of the module. That's also then advised that you continue to do certain exercises just throughout your
Yeah.
life, right? Because this is our personal development part. Be
Yeah.
able to hold others, we have to be able to hold ourselves and see what triggers us and be kind when we see those, but do some work on the things we can change and maybe that are blocking us. So when it came to those moments, can you speak a little bit about the relationship then with Mama Cacao and how it was then in that why we actually work with cacao? Should I ask it that way rather? Why we work with cacao and we go into shadow
Mm.
integration and the importance and the link between the two.
Yeah. So for me, when I do deep heart work, hard and heart work,
Yeah.
I Mama Cacao is such a supportive ally and an ally during that process because she is a very heart opening and heart softening medicine. She allowed me to go deep into myself, to go deep into my shadows and connect with them, even though it was a little bit, it was quite uncomfortable at times. I felt safe to go into those depths. And I would also like to add to that because when we worked on the shadow integration module, coincidentally, well, not really coincidentally, I was going through something, I was experiencing something, and I also just feel so grateful. One of my favorite things about this training is being able to meet with you like every week. And we don't necessarily just talk about the module itself, but like we don't really talk about the material itself, but the effect of the integration. A lot of it has to do with the integration which was so helpful for me because a lot of things, some things I already knew, and it was just, you know, kind of like dormant at the back of my head, and you were there to help bring light into it. And there were other times where you were able to shine a very different perspective that was very enlightening for me, and all in the space of Mama Cacao. Every time we would have these conversations, always coming from the heart. The conversations are always led with a heart. Um, so I felt safe to be vulnerable. I felt safe to be vulnerable with myself as well as when I was having those conversations with you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Because that's it's such an important part of this work, um, is feeling safe. And it's such a beautiful thing when we can find another human that we relate to, or a group. And you know, we can do this work alone to a degree, because like you say, we have that understanding that there's a spirit holding us there, many spirit allies actually, but the heart and the love of Mama Cacao is so conducive for us just to start to look at these things and address these things with ourselves. But there is a limitation to how much we can do alone, because in the context of being held and seen by another human and being witnessed in that, and just sometimes being provided a different perspective, really, it just, it's so helpful and so beneficial. And that word integration, key, absolutely key. So I also really enjoyed our weekly meets. We were actually saying, you know, last week when everything came to a close, like, oh no, we're not going to be seeing each other every week. And then we scheduled this live, and both of us were like, yay, we could at least have some time together. But I'm mindful not to keep you here forever, because that'll be a bit selfish of me. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's such an important part of the work, being able to authentically, I would say, authentically and in a safe way hold others, is being able to do that for ourselves. So we need to go and enter into the uncomfortable parts. And it's not like we're opening Pandora's box and there's like a million things in there that we can't address and can't face. It's merely just looking at being uncomfortable
Yeah.
with certain things. That we are human. We are all human, and we've got both sides of the coin. You know, we've got both cycles of the day and the night in us, and the shadow and the light, and all of it can be loved. All of it can be loved, and that's where our biggest gifts are, actually, in the ability to do that, and the healing that comes, and the release then of the energy, to activate further and grow and expand. So yeah. So let's go then to the opposite of that, because the shadow integration, although it sounds like it can be quite dark and hard, it's not really when we start and we have someone guiding us and support from Mama Cacao's and her life, also in the context of the training container. But out of that, you know, that's where we get our gold, when we start to look at what's actually there, when we start shining light into those shadow corners, and we see, wow, there are nuggets of gold here. So can you speak to a few of the nuggets of gold that either you already knew you had, that you just allowed to actually start to shine, or nuggets of gold that you discovered or rediscovered during the training?
Nuggets of gold.
I mean, I can speak about many, but I want you to say.
I'm trying to think. What nuggets of gold? I mean, there's a lot. Um, well, can I speak a little bit about how I was able, how working with a shadow integration made me feel a little bit more at ease going into, you know, holding space. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you mentioned, in order to be able to hold a steady space, it's very important for us, or for myself or facilitator, to be able to tap into, you know, shadow work, and being able to have clarity, or like a clear lens of where they're at, in order to be able to hold space in with integrity. um and I feel like that was a very important key for me before, you know, we went towards the, you know, how to hold space route, because also during around that time I was sitting in containers that where certain people were like triggering me in
Mm,
various ways. Um, and I feel like the biggest goal that I was able to get from that work, it's really a lot, like it's a lot of compassion. It's like really being able to tap
mm,
into compassion, which in
mm,
whichever space we might be in.
yeah,
And a ceremony is a sacred space, but it doesn't end there. It's also with the day-to-day life. It's not just, okay, we're in ceremony, so we have this perception of, okay, we see each other with compassion within this space. But once we leave the circle of the
mm,
ceremony, we're just
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
back to normal programming. Um, and I think that's one of the things that I was able to tap into as well during that period. Um, yeah, yeah, and being able to be aware of that allowed me to be a little bit more conscious as a person, as in and out
yeah,
of
yes,
ceremony.
yes. Yeah,
Um,
seeing
yeah,
seeing the whole of life as taking that new programming, if you like,
yeah,
of what we've learned formally in ceremony and just applying it so that our whole life, I talk about heart-centered living. You could argue that, well, we're taking ceremony into the rest of our life, actually,
yeah,
because if we can go with that nugget of gold of compassion and the courage to live from that space. And yeah, because it does take courage. It does take courage to live from that space for that
mm,
space, for ourselves first and foremost.
yeah,
And not seeing that as just on the back of what I've said here, not seeing that as a selfish thing, seeing it as the only way to be so that we can be in service to the world, is if we have topped up our cup with compassion and we are living beyond just the formal
yeah,
ceremony. We're living in integrity, authentically, every waking moment as much as we can. That awareness that you mentioned as well, and that's the way that we truly show up and are participatory in life and give part of ourselves as well to the cycle of life. I'd say that's a massive nugget of gold. Compassion, recognizing that there's and the awareness of that. So the awareness and the compassion piece together, that's a space that we have access to all the time. And it doesn't ever, it's like unconditional love of Mama Cacao and the deep aspects of our heart. It doesn't ever diminish. We don't have to go and recharge that. It's not like the credit gets lower and lower in the bank with compassion. It is just, it's how we are.
mm,
It's our way of being.
yes,
It's just to remember that and then to consciously practice being in that space more. But it's not like it ever runs
that
out. It's just waiting for us to like step in and be there all
yes,
the time, in and outside of ceremony. And that's why I love holding ceremony and guiding others to kind of find that formula for them that works. Understanding that there is a certain model, when we link into nature, the cycles and the seasons, that there is quite a formula that we can apply to ceremony that just works
yeah,
as a structure, as like a skeleton,
mm-hmm,
and we can add on everything else around that. But when we practice that, then we can link that into, oh, what if I apply this formula to the rest of my life? So, for example, just waking up in the morning, start your day acknowledging and what it is that you're grateful for, what it is that you have in your life, greeting the day. A lot of cultures say that. How do we greet the day, and how do we say good night to the day, and how do we greet the night?
mm,
And so we constantly just living with this cycle of opening and closing, opening and
yeah,
closing, and so conscious to that,
yeah,
so conscious to that. And hence why, and this is leading me into my next question for you, ritual, the essence behind ritual is the same, but the way that it's presented by individuals should be unique and different because the context of each day is
mm,
different. And the context of our understanding and what's true for us, what's authentic to us, is also going to change. It should as we
mm.
grow and evolve and adapt our ways. So how can you say that you now bring ritual into your life in a way that maybe wasn't there before?
Wow. Well, I feel like my daily ritual has just become a little bit more richer because of
Mm,
our time together. there's a little bit more essence to it, um, a little bit more consciousness into it in the way that I'm able to show up, and I'm a little bit more mindful, and I'm just not like reactive in a way that, you know, what I used to be. So yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit more grounded in the way that I show up. So if you know, I mean, there's no denying that Mama Cacao truly had such a big impact and, you know, through that process and continues to do so. Because often when I feel like I'm not aligned, okay, what would Mama Cacao do? Like, or like what, you know, like I just tap into her presence. I just connect with her presence because I know how she feels like. I know I know how she feels like to me. So if I'm not in alignment, I just find my way back to alignment. So yes, that's how I feel like I was able to enrich in my life with her, my rituals with her. Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. It sounds like there's just more of an embodiment. Um, and it's so important. We can just read and intellectualize so much information. We live in such an information age and become very academic about things, but have we embodied the essence? Have we embodied the understanding? And it's the same with our rituals. They can deepen, they can become more embodied. And then, like you say, you know how she feels in you because you've had to put the time and energy and effort into to playing around and exploring and just sitting time and time again with the same thing. Make cacao, sit and drink cacao, pause.
Yeah.
Make, eat, sleep, repeat kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when we develop the ability to open up the mind to listen and listen from the heart and just quieten the chatter and listen deeper, then that becomes embodied and our cells remember that space, just on that physical level, but our spirit, it starts to activate into that.
Yeah.
And we can then tap in and that intuition then is a lot stronger. We tend to then go forwards listening to that space more. It's a lot more self-worth that comes from that, self-compassion, self-love. It's a very beautiful space and we start to embody the wisdom.
Yeah. Yes. It has been.
So Celeste, if you can just highlight maybe 3 highlights, just off the top of your head, what were some of the highlights over the training, course of the training? They can be directly related or just in the time frame, because everything is linked, like in your life. 3 or so highlights that
Yeah.
happened since we've been
Three
working.
specific highlights. Okay. Well, I really enjoyed the material itself just because there were a lot of knowledge that I didn't know about, and to be able to find out more about something that I already felt so drawn to, like, I mean, Mama Cacao, it was just it was just amazing for me. It was really fascinating for me to learn a little bit about the history, yeah, and like different ways of working with her. And then the second highlight would be meeting with you every week. It's just such precious time. And quite frankly, every time I log onto Zoom to so I don't know I don't know what's gonna come up. I don't know what's gonna come up in the next hour. And at the end of the call, I just feel so nourished and I just feel so grateful to have been speaking with you, and also being held and yeah, mentored. Um, and of course, the third highlight is being able to do a virtual ceremony for my friends. It was it was very fulfilling and heartwarming because these are people that I love and care about, and to be able to share Mama Cacao's medicine in that way, um, was very, very special. Was very, very, very special to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that, because that is something I wanted to touch on briefly. That this entire like level 1 into level 2 training, it's not compulsory, but it's there as a recommended option that you do the evaluation ceremony. So that's the ceremony that you just mentioned, where you can invite your own people. I'm just giving some information
Yeah.
for those that are listening that don't know. So it's just an online ceremony, not just an online ceremony, because there's quite a big build up to it. We have a pre-brief, there's obviously all the material to help you. By then you have your model, you have your formula, and then we start to find your unique goal that you're going to bring in, and what already you work with as modalities or tools in your toolbox, and what excites you, how can you be creative in it, still within the structure and framework of that time and the context of being online, just for the sake of this training. But you can also do it in person if you want. I just started online. And then you invite your people and you send out invitations, just like you would advertise anything, any event, and you send preparations out to them. So there's a lot of work actually to get to that point. And then the real goal is doing it yourself, like just that process of, wow, I can hold a ceremony now, or I can hold a ceremony with Cacao, or look how I've organized this. That's massive. And then the next day we have a debrief, and that is absolutely crucial, in my opinion, that there is the opportunity to get feedback from self, being witnessed in that, but also then from me. What really worked? It's like, let's go for that next time. Do more of that. And where were the areas that we found were challenging? Let's chat about that. And you only kind of know once you've done it, right? And then you can like intellectualize the whole thing and go, okay, one point in the future I will do this. No problem. Let's close the training. Yeah. But to actually go through that process of planning, holding, and being in the container of the training and having that chat, I just feel it's massive to have done as an individual. So I just want to highlight that one more time. I know we had our debrief and I was like, well done, well done, well done. But one more time, live Instagram, well done, Malvina, because it was such a joy to witness you in your power in that space. And anybody who hasn't heard Malvina sing, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not going to ask you to on Instagram, but just for those who obviously know your friends that have heard you sing, her voice is angelic and shamanic at the same time. It's like a shamanic angel, if you can sort of a mixture of that. So that came through, and I wasn't aware of that until she held her ceremony. So I was able to then feed that back to her and go, oh my gosh, Malvina, you've got to use your voice more. This is such a gift that you have to be able to hold space for people and to get people's mind into the right place to receive the medicine of cacao and to listen deeper. So we all have our different gifts, and voice. The voice is one of them. Wonderful, because you can take your voice wherever you are. You just have to activate it, have the confidence to do that. So yeah, that was really wonderful. And then just from that, I think I have just two more things I'd like to ask you. And the one is, obviously now after the training, go back into the space of holding ourselves until maybe another mentor comes around in our life, or another group context, or whatever it may be. Have you found that you are able to bring in already some of the wisdom that you have embodied into the work that you do? I know you work with energy and you also have clients. Or do you feel like that still needs to kind of simmer and integrate a bit? And you speak about that process a little, where you're at with that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of both. Again, going back to the whole aspect of me working with holding space for people and being able to, what was that saying, when I inwards, and when I with my client, just so I'm not easily triggered, like I'm holding space for someone, but I will be able to easily discern if someone, something they've said or something they're experiencing affects me on a personal level. So I think we touched on that quite, at least for me during the process of our training. It was very present for me. Like I feel like that theme kept like showing up. And so when I was, after we finished our training, I've held a few sessions with the work that I do, and it was something that was able to just hold and keep in mind, and also allowing for whatever I felt during that moment when I was holding space to be given attention to when I'm out of that space, because it really is a learning. It always is a learning. It's not just like I'm holding space, that's it, the session ends here. No, like when I step out of a space, it's a learning for me too. It's not just for whoever I'm showing up for. So yeah, that's something that I've been able to integrate a little bit more. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and I really realized that I'm able to show up only as how much I've been able to show up for myself and
Mm,
have worked on
mm,
myself. You know, it
mm.
will help support how I hold space for people.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Ah, beautiful. That just comes back to what you were saying earlier about we have to do the work here first before we can authentically and in a safe way hold others.
yeah.
It's so beautiful to hear that that's already coming through in the work you do. Um, and may it continue, may it continue. So anybody listening in, if you don't know Malvina yet, her tag is here, so you can go and give her a follow and see if maybe you would like me to be your next person to hold space for you as you go along your life journey. So Malvina, final words from you. Do you have any advice from, well, actually, anything else you want to share first and foremost? And then to close that off, maybe you could just give some advice for anybody on their cacao journey.
Well, any last words would be I feel like it's just the beginning, at least for me. Um, with my journey with Mama Cacao, even though, I've been sitting with her almost every day for the past like 6 to 8 months. I feel like it really is just the beginning for me with regards to where we might go and the experience that we'll be going through together and the heart expansion and all the integration that I have yet to experience with her. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Like life's better knowing that I have Mama Cacao as part of my life. Um, and I'm very, very grateful again to Cape Cacao and of course Steve Fran for being able to hold space for me and you know go through this training with me. And yeah, it's really not just about the material. Yes, it's important, but a lot of it really is about integration and embodiment, right? It's for me, there's no point knowing if I'm not able to apply it, right? So yeah, I've just been so grateful for that. And any advice I could give to anyone who might be interested or it's kind of there in their peripherals, just show up with an open heart. Just show up. Just show up. And Mama Cacao will be there to support you. Like with no judgment, no whatsoever. She holds such a steady, her medicine is very potent yet so gentle. So yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's such beautiful medicine to step into and to work with. So yeah, just show up with an open heart and just show up. Yeah, that's my advice.
Oh, Malvina, thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful. I ditto that advice, absolutely. And so thank you so much for your
Thank
time today.
you.
I'm going to let you jump off the call. I'm just going to say a few final words about our next cacao training, but you don't need to hear all of that. You've already, you've already immersed
Thank
into it. So thank you for
you.
your time and enjoy the rest of your evening, Rose,
Thank
and
you.
much love.
Bye. Bye.
So as Malvina jumps off, yeah, just to say again, thank you so much to everybody that has joined over the years of our cacao training. And you just heard Malvina sharing about private training, which is on offer on request. Otherwise, our next group training is starting on the 28th of March. We'll start closing the enrollments a week before that. So essentially, there's another 3 weeks to inquire, to enroll. Um, if it's for you, it'll resonate. If it isn't, then it won't resonate. So again, maybe just go check out everything on the website. If you're kind of sitting on the fence already, and by reading some of the information, just listen to your gut. There'll be a yes or there'll be a no. There might be a yes, but not right now. So we try to hold these group trainings twice a year. The private trainings whenever we can on request, just depends on our capacity. And the private training, it pretty much follows the same course as the group outline that's on the website. So link is in the bio to that. We are offering a few early bird discounts, but there are a limited number of those. So we keep the group overall, the group training container small. We don't go above a certain number of people. So the early bird offering is even less than that. So yeah, if we still have those available, it will show on our website when you go to enroll. And what else can I say about that? Just really looking forward to the build up to the training. It's my favorite time of the year. I love holding space in person, of course, but online I just get to meet people from all over the globe. Like we just chatted to Malvina from Singapore, and it means that it's not limited to how to train with us or be mentored by me if you live in my proximity. So. The other thing I want to say is we'll be having a few more IG lives, a few more chats over the next couple of weeks, so you can hear not only from us, but from some of our previous alumni. And then the final thing to say on the Cacao Training, because all the information you can go get on the website, I'm not going to give you all the details on that. It's just to say that if you are an alumni, because we've been holding this training now, I think we probably number 13 is coming up now at the end of the month. If you are an alumni, you are welcome to rejoin the training as a recap, and you get that at 50% off. Whether that's level 1 or level 1 and 2, whatever you have previously done, you also just do the level 2 part. If you are starting from scratch with us, we strongly advise that you start at level 1, even if you're working with Cacao already, because level 1 has a lot of theory that you need to know before you move on to level 2. And often people think that because they've been working with Cacao in the spiritual space, that they can just skip over level 1. But often what we get is people that jump onto level 1, having worked with Cacao already, they go, I'm really glad I did level 1. Because there was a lot of information that just filled in a lot of gaps. I didn't even know that about Cacao. If you strongly feel that you don't want to do level 1, but you just want to do level 2, we would need just something in writing to kind of explain why. So kind of a little bit of backing. And then we sometimes consider taking somebody on level 2. Another consideration is just that if we're in a group context, it isn't so nice for people to join halfway. Those that are already in that container, also those coming in, it's just a bit more of a challenge to like gel the group back together. Nonetheless, I'm going to sign off. So wishing everybody a beautiful day further, beautiful week further. We are coming up to a new moon and then autumn equinox here in the southern hemisphere, spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. So as we go into these energies, let's align into the heart and just be guided from the overall space out there, but also inside. Much love from my heart to yours.